got more Premier League stuff to discuss, and now it's the recap for round 11. I'm happy because everybody at this stage will be forced to look at the table. No excuses, about not looking at the table. But anyways, moving on to what happened over the weekend. Victor, we're starting with Manchester City. After beating Liverpool, City moved to within 4 points of Arsenal after Arsenal dropped points to Sunderland. Many people are now claiming that City are once again the favourites because when they start winning, they don't lose and stuff like that. Do you agree with that notion?
Yeah, I don't know about being favorites, to be honest. It was a great performance against Liverpool, absolutely, but it's still only November. Arsenal are still doing great. Liverpool are not out of sight yet either. Chelsea might end up pushing more than some people anticipated. And I just don't see City's squad depth being as impressive this season as it was in previous years.
Yeah, fair point. And over to you, Max. For Liverpool, it was yet another defeat in the Premier League, and they now find themselves 8 points behind Arsenal. In fact, Liverpool are below Manchester United as at the time of recording this video. But now the question to you, Max, is that are Liverpool still in title discussions so far this season?
I mean, they have to be there at least because they spent over 400 mil this summer. They won last year, so they definitely might be the contenders. But currently, looking at the form of all of the teams in the title race, they're heavily underdogs here because I'm pretty sure that Arsenal and Man City are doing much better. They have a big advantage in front of Liverpool, so I would say they have pretty slight chance, but they're still there somewhere.
Fair enough. After the first 5 game weeks, they were the favourites, and now we're talking about a slight chance. How time can change quickly. But anyways, moving on. Aston Villa started the season on a terrible note. I remember in some of our recordings, we were talking about them struggling to score a goal, and now they've moved to within 1 point of top 4, winning 4 out of their last 5 league games. Victor, do you think they can go on to push for a top 4 finish?
I really don't see why not. It's still very early days, and the table is so very tight below the top 2 positions. And remember, I tipped Villa in our preseason predictions show for a title tilt. And I don't think they're that out of it either yet. So, yeah, I think top 4 is definitely reachable for them, especially since we can safely say that Sunderland will not be able to genuinely challenge for it. And also, Villa's run of fixture, it's not that difficult over the next month. If you look at it, it's Leeds, Wolves, West Ham, Man United, with some Brighton and Arsenal sprinkled in there. What will be of the utmost importance to them is juggling those Europa League responsibilities and weighing them up against their Prem targets.
Yeah, fair enough. And back to you, Max. What do you think has gone wrong for Bournemouth with back-to-back defeats?
I mean, you cannot argue that Man City are just a better side, especially at home, so I would say that was kind of expected. But losing Villa 0-4, yeah, it's kind of shocking, but if you're looking at the stats, they weren't that bad. Honestly, they didn't perform to lose 4-0. If Semenyo scored a pen, probably the game would change differently. So I would say they should just forget these 2 games, reduce in the international break, and they can definitely come back stronger after that.
Fair point. And just on a final note for this video, Newcastle have only 12 points, after 11 games. They've won only 3 games this season, and in fact, they are just 2 points off the relegation zone. Victor, why do you think they continue to do well in the Champions League and they continue to struggle in the league?
That's a very good question, especially because they seem like a different club when they're playing in Europe, if that makes sense. I genuinely believe they would be much higher in the Prem table if they had just Wisa and Livramento available at least. And I think it's been tough for Eddie Howe, and I have a feeling that he panics somewhat at times. Look at the quadruple substitution against Brentford. You need to defend the penalty when the score is at 1-1. So realistically, you're falling behind. Okay, you need to change the keeper because Pope's injured. But then you're making 3 more changes, and they're not really aggressive enough in order to take something from that game, considering that you're most likely falling behind. So I think that was a poor decision. That was a bit of a panicky moment from Eddie Howe. But it's really hard to say whether they are simply unable to harness that energy with which they play in the Champions League and apply it to the Premier League, or if it's just a case of like overthinking things maybe from the coaching staff.
Yeah, fair point. But we're just going to have to see what happens to Newcastle over the coming weeks. I think one of their games too will be Arsenal, and we know what will happen in that one. But anyways, moving on, that's all we have for this video. There's still more Premier League talk coming up, and make sure you stay tuned to our channel so you get all the best talking points from all the action over the weekend.